going on, guys? Anthony here. So today I have a new video for you, and it is my analysis of the 2020 North Carolina Senate race between the Republican nominee, current incumbent Senator Thom Tillis, and the Democratic challenger, Cal Cunningham. So, with that said, let's get on into the video. Thom Tillis is the incumbent U.S. Senator. He was first elected back in 2014, defeating Democrat Kay Hagan. And before that, he previously served as the Speaker of the North Carolina House of Representatives from 2011 until 2014, when he was, of course, elected to take over for Senator. Now, Cal Cunningham, he is the current 2020 Democratic nominee for Senate. He did run an unsuccessful primary campaign for the Democratic nomination in 2010 for the United States Senate. And he currently serves as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve. So very, very impressive thing there. So this is the 2014 Senate race between Thom Tillis, where he was elected, versus Kay Hagan. This is a very, very close race in which Thom Tillis did win with 48.8% of the vote to Kay Hagan's 47.3% of the vote. Now, I'll be talking about this more in a few minutes, but what's interesting about this was that Thom Tillis was supposed to lose this race based off polling data. Kay Hagan had a lead in polling data by about 2 or 3 points, I believe, and Thom Tillis was seen as an underdog. And the reason that Thom Tillis ended up winning was there's a third-party libertarian candidate whose name was Sean Haw, I believe, and he ended up taking about 3% of the vote away. And the argument could be, well, where do those votes come from? Do they come from Thom Tillis? Do they come from Hagan? In real life, we're not really too sure, but from the polling data perspective, it came from Kay Hagan's margin and ended up aiding Thom Tillis. So Thom Tillis narrowly won with a plurality of the vote, 48.8 to 47.3 back in 2014. Jumping forward now to 2020, what is Thom Tillis' current approval rating? Well, again, according to Morning Consult polling average, which is what I've been using for the last few Senate videos for the approval rating, Thom Tillis, he's not really that bad, with 34% approving and 37% disapproving. And what that's saying is Thom Tillis is not a very polarizing guy, which, honestly, in the Senate, in a swing state, that's not the worst thing. In a very competitive seat, you either want everyone to know you and like you. Obviously, you want to be liked if you're in the Senate, but you're better off people not knowing about you than you being in a swing state and having a lot of people hate you. For instance, look at Cory Gardner or Martha McSally, for instance. They're in a competitive Senate races. Arizona especially typically has more Republicans than Democrats. However, she's unliked, and that's hurting her chances of re-election. If Thom Tillis' approval and disapproval ratings are very low, and technically are both within the margin of error, so they could both be tied, really, this is very good for Thom Tillis. He's in a better situation than, say, other Republican incumbents like Martha McSally or Cory Gardner, or maybe Susan Collins. I'd say he's probably in a better situation than Susan Collins, Thom Tillis is, I'd say. So the polling data that we have so far in the race, the 3 polls I chose were a public policy poll, which is the most recent one, has Cal Cunningham leading 47% to Thom Tillis' 40%. Now, I'm going back to using the system of the D and the R next to the polling data names because public policy did admit they polled more Democrats in this poll, and this was a Democratic-leaning or Democratic-skewed poll. So that is something to keep an eye on. If it has a D or R next to the name, it doesn't mean like the poll is 100% accurate, but it doesn't mean the poll is 100% false either. So it's just something to keep in mind that it is skewed to one party. And then the Civitas Harbor poll, which is a Republican-skewed poll, shows Thom Tillis leading 48% to Cal Cunningham's 34%. So it's basically kind of like the public policy poll and the Civitas poll almost kind of like cancel each other out. I know the polling data, it doesn't line up on that, but like in terms of who's doing what, they kind of cancel each other out. And then this poll, back from February from the Eastern Carolina University, shows Thom Tillis with a narrow lead of 44% to Cal Cunningham's 42%. So, and that poll does not have a bias listed on the polling data. So, with those 3 polls added up, Thom Tillis averages about 40.7% and Cal Cunningham 41%, with Cal Cunningham leading the polling two-way race of 0.3%. However, as I mentioned, there are third-party candidates which could definitely play an effect on who ends up winning this race, as it did in 2014. Also, if this is true and it's 40.7% and 41%, there's a lot of undecided vote left. So both candidates can win here. Thom Tillis could win easily. Cal Cunningham can win easily. This is going to be a very competitive race, but don't think it's out of reach for either party yet. So Thom Tillis, the endorsements that he has the endorsements of President Trump, Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, John Bolton, and Nikki Haley. And Cal Cunningham has a few endorsements from Sherrod Brown, Bob Casey, Dick Durbin, Tim Kaine, Chris Murphy, and former Attorney General of the United States for Barack Obama, Eric Holder. So, what is my personal assessment of this race? For one thing, this is an understatement. It's going to be close. Like, we know this is going to be close. North Carolina, ever since Obama surprisingly won North Carolina back in 2008, this state has become very, very close. It is a swing state. It is typically skewed Republican at the national level since Obama won. However, at the state level, there is a current Democratic governor, and he's looking like he's in pretty good shape to win re-election again. So this really could go either way. However, Thom Tillis' popularity and approval rating is not in the worst shape for re-election, as I mentioned. He's in better standing than some other Republican incumbents. I think this Senate race and the presidential race will be very closely connected, meaning whoever wins this Senate race, I think the party will win the president's race. So if President Trump wins North Carolina, the margins might be smaller, but I think Thom Tillis will narrow out a win in the Senate race as well. I do think the turnout numbers will be slightly bigger for the presidential race, though, because sometimes that does happen where some people just come out to vote for president and they don't fill out Senate or governor because they really don't care as much. That does happen sometimes. So I think presidential race will have more turnout, but if President Trump wins, look for a Thom Tillis win. If Joe Biden upsets and wins in North Carolina, Cal Cunningham's chances of winning this seat are looking very good. So again, 2014 was a surprise win for Thom Tillis. Polling data did show that he was supposed to lose. So this is why, again, goes with my theme that I know it sounds like stupid when I say it, but polls aren't always the end-all, be-all. Polls are just giving you a general synopsis of what's going on. That doesn't mean they're the end result, and polls are 100% right. The only thing that can prove a poll correctly is the election itself. So you can argue about what the polls say all you want, but you can't say I'm right or I'm wrong or this or that because we don't know what's going to happen yet until the election. Unless you know the results of the election, we don't know yet. Your guess is pretty much as good as mine. So we're waiting for the election to happen, then we'll know the exact results, and then we can see if the polls are right or not. So again, Thom Tillis is in better spot than the vulnerable incumbents, and the third-party candidates could play a big factor in deciding this race. So here's my nth prediction for the Senate seat in North Carolina. I do think Thom Tillis, at the end of the day, will win this Senate seat. I think he'll be able to win another 6 years for the United States Senate. I think this is going to be very, very close. I see Thom Tillis winning with 49.1% to Cal Cunningham's 48.4%. Thom Tillis and Cal Cunningham, the Republicans and Democrat, both gaining on the margins of last time around. But yeah, I think Thom Tillis will beat Cal Cunningham. I think he will end up getting 49.1%, 48.4%. I think he will narrowly win here, and I think he'll go on to serve 6 more years in the Senate. So that is my election video for North Carolina Senate race. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. Also, if you want to subscribe, tap the bell icon so you always get notified whenever I post a video. So you can always leave suggestions down below and let me know any future video ideas. So far, my most recent ones were Arizona, Alabama, and Maine, I believe. And now obviously North Carolina. I think my next Senate videos I'm doing up, I saw a comment about the Tennessee Senate primary video. That's a good one I'm going to try and do soon. So Tennessee I'm going to look to do, and I think I might do Colorado too. I'm not sure which one I'll do next yet, but the next two ones up are Tennessee and Colorado. So thank you so much for watching again. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.